So Joe, can you tell us a little bit about your farm?
Sure. We're a sixth-generation dairy farm, and we also farm crops. We're very excited to have the opportunity to do the same thing for so many years that our ancestors have done before us. And that led itself into helping educate the public about what kinds of things happen on a dairy farm and what kind of struggles and things we go through. It's been a great thing for us to do, and I think it's a great way to reach out to your community.
So how did you get involved in agritourism? What are you currently doing? What projects have you taken on?
Well, it all began many years ago when just elementary schools would want to come out and bring their students out for a trip around the farm, and we've done that for many, many years. But upon my wife's interests surrounding education and youth and her experience with the 4-H program, we moved into a little bit more intensive agritourism development, and as time has gone on, we've added things like a corn maze, open to the general public. We host group tours, and our whole point is simply to tell a story of agriculture and celebrate the things that we do here on the farm and educate folks on questions they might have about where their food's from.
So where did you get the idea to get started for this? What sparked this idea in your head?
Well, certainly not an original idea. We didn't come up with it ourselves, but there are lots of other farms that are doing the same thing. It just seemed like a natural fit with our proximity to population mass and the interest that seemed to be surrounding food production and farm practices and questions that consumers have. It seemed like the natural outreach for our farm to do to tell the story of agriculture. I think it's important that we all do it.
So once you decided that this was a field that you wanted to get into, how did you go about doing this? What were the resources that you used to start off with?
Oh, some of the first things, like I said, we have done the student tours for many years, and so we were kind of familiar with classrooms and that kind of thing. But really, to think about on a broader sense, bringing more folks in, it's all really about the experience and showing real life agriculture and what really happens on the farm, and having access to the information that they ask about. So we try to really focus on education, on practices that we do, on housing, on technology that we use, and then follow that up with the reasons why and the things that we are looking to in the future. And we also share some challenges, because in real life we have some challenges with weather and with livestock and with health and those kinds of things. So we really want to kind of show and showcase the farm in a way that really tells the story of agriculture. And getting started, you just start one step at a time. We started off just with relatively no props, and kind of built it into, as we evaluate each and every season, we think, well, we really think that our visitors would appreciate a more in-depth discussion or visuals on this particular area or that. So we come up and brainstorm ideas on how we can do that. Last year, for example, we had a hands-on milking cow, which a lot of the kids really like, to actually be able to milk a cow. It's safe because it won't kick, because it's made out of plywood, but it does offer the opportunity to really experience getting down, crouching down, and trying to milk a cow for real life.
What was one of the things that surprised you the most about getting involved with this, whether it be having to line up liability insurance? What would you say was the toughest thing for you to overcome?
Well, certainly the insurance was an issue. Trying to think through having visitors on your farm. I mean, you're really not positioned. Generally, when you think about farming, you're thinking about the production practices, and you don't think about how groups can park, how they can unload off a bus, and how they can line up and move about and have great access to the things that you're doing, so they can see what you're doing, see what's going on. Most of our designing and our thoughts when we built all this was more inclined to just the day-to-day working operation. So that was a struggle, certainly. Probably the biggest surprise was just the level of knowledge or lack thereof that is out there. I mean, there's a whole lot of people that are just haven't had the experience to be on a farm. They don't understand some of the things that we're doing, and they have a lot of questions. And I think that's where we really can come in and try to answer those questions and talk about those concerns And when we sit down and have a face-to-face conversation about them, I think it really is very valuable.
So after you worked so hard to gain your farm tours and your mazes, how did you market this to the public and make them aware of the opportunities that you had here?
Well, we try to use normal, traditional methods, print media, newspapers. We've had some success with partnering with another organization for some radio time. Word of mouth has been critical, and then marketing through the groups that come. I think our best sales is word of mouth. So when we talk about when the students come out, we invite them to come back and bring their parents and their other family members, and so that's been successful. We have a website. It's www.kelsayfarms.com. We use that as well to attract people that are searching for an agritourism venue. We're featured in the Agritourism Guide that the State Department of Agriculture puts out. We also have a Facebook page, and so lots of different ways to help attract and again educate folks that are interested in dairy. We also try to do a lot of events. We had June is Dairy Month breakfast last year. We're going to hold a press conference later this year. So things that we can host, that we feel like we're equipped to host, but also making sure that we attach that educational component, that agricultural story. We think that's the most important thing we can do.
So what is your final piece of advice to anybody else out there who's just trying to get off their feet and get started in the value-added ag industry?
Well, I think it's really all about the mission and really thinking about what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, for us, it's always been education, and it's been thinking about when people come to visit the farm, what experiences do they want to walk away with, and what experiences do we want to share with them? What questions do they have about how their food is produced, and what kinds of practices and things we do on the farm? And I think we focused our tour on that, we focused our conversations on that, and I think that's probably the most important thing that you can do. Otherwise, getting started, it starts small. I mean, it starts with the first kindergarten class that wants to get out of the classroom a little while, or the neighbor that wants to come over and see what you're doing. And so as you start to have experience, you start to know what kinds of questions might be asked, and you start to think about the process, I guess, of having and hosting groups on your farm, and you kind of grow and learn from there. So it's a great experience. It's really nice to get to know the people that live around you and have them out on your farm and answer those questions that people just aren't educated about. So wish everybody luck that might want to try to do that.
All right, Joe, thank you for your time, and thanks for sharing your experiences with us.